Good evening. Welcome to another Sunday night live stream. It's been a couple of weeks since the last one because I have been working on this. You've probably seen the Kickstarter. I expect to hear me mention and plug that quite a lot through the duration of this stream. But yeah, it's as the title said, the aim of this is to fix. Now, I use fix and I think people have taken the wrong context of what fix means, and I'll explain a little bit further. I'll be fixing the legs on the SYDONIAN SKATRO'S model. Now I will have to mention, there we go, you can see him there. So this is I got this in early copy from Games Workshop. I have to mention that, by the way, hashtag sponsored, whatever it is. But yeah, hello. Well, I hope everyone has had a wonderful 2 weeks since I last did my last stream, which was before the tournament, and it was 3 weeks ago now, wasn't it? Yeah, Jesus. It was the one that I did before the tournament, so you'll be interested to know that in that tournament I played 3 games. It was just a one-day tournament. I lost 2 games and I drew 1, so it's not bad. It's the first time I've ever played 40k since maybe 6th edition. So yeah, it's been quite a while. Very different game. So yeah, that's how that went. And then pretty much straight after that, I went live with the Kickstarter. So yeah, I've just been kind of busy doing that, busy working on some of the videos, and yeah, thought I'd do another one. I've been wanting to do this. I was going to make this into a full video, but I didn't think that I would get time to make it into a full video anytime soon. So I'm going to do it as a stream, and if it goes well, then I'll make it into a full video that we'll have at some point, either edit down the stream or we'll do a specific video for that one. But yeah, so going back to the tournament, the list that I used it involved 3. So I basically used my Horus Heresy army. If you watch that video, I managed to get it all finished. I used my Horus Heresy army. I used some Terminators. I used the Cataphractes as regular Terminators. I used the Land Raider Spartan as a regular Land Raider. I used the Contemptor as a regular Dreadnought. Everything was basically like the first Bornified, so I could use it in 40k. And it was okay. I think the army itself did pretty well. I think the problems that I had were either just it's probably due to me not knowing a lot of the rules of my opponents, because I barely knew my own rules. So it was kind of a case that I would make a lot of mistakes. The first game was against Eldar, which is pretty rough, and there was a huge squad of Wraith Guard that just kind of danced halfway across the battlefield and destroyed my Land Raider Spartan in one turn, and then the next turn they destroyed the Land Raider Spartan in my turn because of their rule that I didn't know about, that they can shoot back if you shoot them, and then the next turn they destroyed the Terminator Assault Squad that was inside it, most of it. So yeah, it was pretty bad. First game was pretty bad. Second game was against Sisters of Battle. That was a draw, and then the final game was almost a mirror match, but it was against a Primus version of essentially my army. But yeah, I think the army did well. There was probably some tweaks. I had a Terminator squad that just did nothing. It's supposed to deep strike in, but it just never did anything. It always failed its charges. It just missed all of its shots. It was terrible. But anyway, that's enough of my 40k woes. I will maybe come back to that at some point in the future and add more to the army and tweak it a little bit. But it was only 1,500 points, so I've still got a bit more wriggle room for the future. Anyway, I'm waffling about the tournament, but we will talk about that, I'm sure. Everyone is here to see me talk about the SYDONIAN SKATRO'S. Now, in the thumbnail, I pointed out the legs, and I also pointed that out in the title. I'm going to fix them. Now, some people are probably assumed that I don't like how long the legs are. I think it looks strange because it's tall. And I've already mentioned this on a stream. I like the model. I have nothing against the model on stilts. That's fine. What I take offense to is the fact that the legs wouldn't work. Physically, mechanically, the legs would not work. And I know that's asking a lot for a 40k miniature, because a lot of things in 40k wouldn't mechanically work. But having seen the model and having the close-ups of the sprue and being able to look at the components and everything, it doesn't function. The legs don't work how they're supposed to. And I will basically be hoping to mechanically fix them. It may work, it may not. I am not particularly good when it comes to working with plasticard, and that's what I'm going to be working a lot with. But yeah, I have no problem with the guy having long legs. We may even make the legs longer. What I do have a problem with is mechanically incorrect components, especially on a mechanicum part. Anyway, I'm going to explain this first because I feel like everyone needs to be on the same page at least. But first, I'm going to mention we're going to mention this a few times. Essentially, this is a sponsored stream, but sponsored by me, so that's allowed. Let's just get that. So, I am, for anyone who doesn't know, I am currently running a Kickstarter campaign to get a fully plastic kit of dead animal bits. These are all the parts that I have had sculpted, and they have been 3D printed prototypes that I've kind of shown off a little bit in the stream in the past. And the idea of this is that it's going to be a full sprue, lots of components on there of repeats, different scaling, different components that you will be able to use to modify your army. The idea of it, think of this Citadel skull set, but kind of expanded out into not just human and alien skulls, lots of different other things. And yeah, so this is going to be made in a full plastic kit, and it's currently live on Kickstarter. So everyone who has pledged so far, thank you very much. There's 579 of you. It's basically all the money that I'm raising from this is going to be going back into either the costs of the sculpting that I've already paid for. It's going to go into the costs of making the mold, the initial production run, well, the production run to the backers, and then it's also going to go towards funding the first production run for retail, which will be hopefully afterwards. So yeah, there's pretty much I don't think I'm making any money on this actually. I've not really planned it out that well for making money, for it to be a profitable enterprise. But yeah, it's literally just to get, if you back this, you'll be the first ones to get access to the kit when it's released, but it will be going up retail afterwards. So yeah, I will include a link to this in the chats. So if you haven't done so already, please do check that out. And please do back it, or even just share it with your friends. That would be amazing if you could do that, because these kind of things is all very much word of mouth. 2 weeks left to go, and I think we're kind of coming up to 2/3 of the way there at the moment. So I'm not going to go too much about the details, because a lot of this is all mentioned in here. It's Wargames Atlantic are going to be doing it. It's not just going to be me trying to figure out how to make a sprue and crafting a mold out of solid metal using my file and Dremel. It's all going to be done professionally. There's someone going to be who actually knows what they're doing is going to be doing it. I'm just here to do the painting and come up with the ideas for the bits. Anyway, waffle away. Right, so we're going to be looking at how these are mechanically wrong, and I'm going to show you the sprue. So this is everything on the sprue. I've not touched anything so far. Right, so this is one of the legs. Now, this particular leg, I believe, I'm just double check, is the left leg. Okay, left leg. So if we imagine that this leg is supposed to work in some way similar to a kind of like a bird leg, or like the back leg of a dog or a mammal, something like that, what you would expect is there to be a thigh, then a knee joint, and then usually quite a long kind of shin, and then the foot would be long, and then you'd have like a claw or some sort of appendage which sits in the bottom. And if you look at people who wear kind of like mechanical stilts, not like the wooden stilts, but the fully mechanical stilts, they essentially do their thing. They almost extend the feet and the toes and create like the height that way. This doesn't work. If you look at this, I mean, a lot of you probably have already noticed, if you look at this joint here, so this is kind of built to be almost look like it should rotate, but it's kind of, if you look at that, there's actually not really much that can rotate there. So this bar can't really go that way, because this is a bar, this isn't a piston. I'm really nitpicking here, but it's really winding me up. So this leg here can only go, if it can move, it can only move forward a little bit like that. Now you'll notice that there's no knee joint here anymore. This isn't actually a joint, this is literally just a solid piece. There's no movement necessarily going on here. So it's really hard for this leg to actually move, to actually have, it should be in three pieces. There's a piece here, this knee joint should control this part going backwards, and then there should be a joint here which controls this bit going forward, and then a foot, and it doesn't really work. It's basically pretty static, so the guy wouldn't necessarily be able to walk. He would just kind of like, yeah. I'm trying to explain. It's really hard to explain. I've been thinking about this an awful lot, but to demonstrate with these two files, rather than the legs striding, they basically just do this. That's how they'd walk along, which just looks ridiculous. I don't know. I don't care what you think about AdMech. It just doesn't look right. So anyway, that is what we're going to be fixing. We are going to be using some... So I'm not going to take a look at... should be like Flamingo's legs. Yes, Dark Reaper 1982 should be like Flamingo's legs. You should have a joint in there. You should have, like, if you think about any kind of water bird that has these long legs, they'll always be jointed at the back. They'll go down, and then they'll have the toes at the end. And that's what we're going to be trying to recreate here. We're also going to be bulking the legs out. We're probably going to keep them the same length, but we're going to be bulking them out a little bit. I'm just going to point out my source for this kind of thing. It's not going to be exactly the same, but this is where we're looking to go for with this. Let's get Firefox up. So if you've ever played Dishonored, then you'll know what the tall boys are. Now these guys are essentially the same thing as this, but you can see what I mean by the legs. So you can almost have first of all the legs are fully jointed here. For the Sidonian has their legs cut off at the knee. So this doesn't quite work, but you can get what I'm saying. So this is almost like the, if you imagine this part as the thigh, this is like the shin, and then you also have the foot, and then the claws there. So you can see how everything's jointed. So this is designed to go, actually, am I looking at that wrong? Yeah, so this is almost like this whole section is the foot. That is the thigh, that is the shin, foot, and then the whole thing. Yeah, so that's what we're going to do. Ollie, thank you very much for gifting a sub. Thank you very much. Much appreciated. Cheers, mate. I am also streaming on Twitch, by the way. So there will be... I'm not allowed to cross-pollinate the chat from Twitch to YouTube because of Twitch. So, unfortunately, there will be some things which are going between the two and not quite making sense if I'm talking. But I will try to read things out. Okay. Tables up and face. There we go. Right, so I'm going to try and keep this in shot as best I can. I'm going to try and make some adjustments here to the legs. Like I said, the rest of the model, perfect. It looks great. I really enjoyed the rest of the model. The sniper, the head is fantastic. He's got pouches on his chest. I mean, let's look at the pouches there. We all know how much I love pouches, so that's a tick from me. Pretty much any part of the model up from... That's perfect. That looks great. This needs a bit of work. That's all I'm going to say. Now, I've not really planned this. It could work. It might not work, but luckily, because of the way that this kit is built, you basically glue the legs together, and then you just glue everything to the top. So as long as I don't make any changes to this fit at the top, the rest of it should work pretty well. Victor D, thank you very much. Love the conversion videos. Have some beer money. Thank you very much. I much appreciate that. But yeah, so we're gonna try and modify things as well a little bit. And I've got some ideas of how to do this. I'm going in this pretty much blind. I've not already massively planned this out. I've got some rough ideas. I've got all the parts I think I'll need. But we're going to also bulk out the feet as well. The feet are also a little bit spindly for my liking. So we're gonna enhance the feet a little bit. I guess what I should have called the stream was how can I enhance, how can I improve on. So yeah, you can see the legs there. As long as I build the legs like that, that's fine. Shouldn't change at all. Also from Voidforge Manage, thank you very much. I love seeing the AdMech kit bashes. All of your videos are great. Thank you very much. Much appreciated. I do like doing the AdMech kit bashes. I don't do enough of them. But now after playing that tournament, I've got the whole playing 40k bug, and I've been looking at so many different army lists. It's ridiculous. I will not have any time to build any of them probably anytime soon, but I'm still working on the Raptors though, so don't worry, the Raptors are still being worked on. It's nice actually now I've played 40k and I've kind of gotten to enjoy the game a little bit more. I can almost appreciate how the rules work, and I can better decide on what I want to have in my army and what direction I want to go based on the rules. So whilst you don't need to know the rules to play 40k, like to collect it at least, it kind of has like a good purpose if you do intend to look at it at some point in the future. Right, so what do we have here? So I've got pretty much all of the plastic rod that I think I'll need. How did I open this before? Okay, cool. If the Omnissiah says we waddle on stilt legs, then we waddle on them. Yeah. I like the idea. I think the idea is great. It works perfectly. But I think what we can do is we can modify things a little bit. So I'm going to roughly dry fit my intention here. So we're basically going to take this from this point here. And what I want to do is I want to make this look more like... essentially want this to look more like a solid piece. So this will be like the thigh bone. So we need to have a section coming from here, which I can probably use this for. This is probably not too bad. I can modify this somewhat. I might take out this whole section here and just have another strut. So this is going to be, essentially as you look at it, it's going to be the thigh, and then we're going to have a shin, and then we're going to have a foot, and then we're going to have the toes at the bottom as well. So we're going to keep that structure. We could add more sections in. Adding more sections in the problem, but I think you need to have some sections just to get the idea in. So this section can't move. It's going to be locked off. So imagine that as one piece. We're going to have another piece down here, and then we're going to have another joint as well. So yeah, essentially it just needs another joint here. That's kind of what I'm getting at. What I've done is I'm going to be using parts from the AdMech kit. I'm only going to be using AdMech components for this one because I think that makes it easier to follow and recreate. But there are lots of AdMech sections that have these cool little gears and cogs and stuff that we can use to bulk out those joints. And I think I'm going to use these for the feet as well. That's the direction that I'm going with at the moment. We're going to be essentially swapping the feet out to be something a little bit more claw-like. So yeah. Anyway, as always, please feel free to leave any questions or anything that you want to chat about in the comments, because I do occasionally remember to look over and glance over at the chat and keep an eye on everything. Daz, I've just noticed you in the Twitch chat there. I was literally getting all my Age of Sigmar, my Sylvaneth ready the other day. I was making sure I actually had an army that still was playable, because I haven't played since before the current Sylvaneth army book was released. So I didn't know if I had enough models. Luckily I do. I have to adjust the list I used to run, but pretty much all the models in that list should be okay. Yeah, I think that's... is that going to be okay? So I want to make sure I'm definite on where I'm going with the cuts on this one before I make any adjustments. First thing I'm going to do, I'm tempted to remove this whole section here. And I might even cut away this, because I'm happy for this to exist, but I think it needs to look more like a piston. I don't like this kind of solid bar here. There's no compression there, because I don't even believe that rod could go inside there, because that's supposed to be a joint. So yeah, that just wouldn't work as a joint at all. I'm just kind of looking at it. It wouldn't bend. Because if this moves this way, well, that's a solid section. So unless that compresses, but even then the angle changes. So yeah, anyway, we need to figure it out. We need to actually do, if I'm going to sit here criticizing, I need to make sure it actually works. That's what we need to do. Okay, so let's cut away. Let's start by removing this whole kind of section here, and then that's breaking the model down into its subcomponents. So let's so if this was going up, I'm going to look at I'm going to use this guy as an example, because this is actually a leg system that's really done well. So this is what I mean. You have a thigh, you have a shin, and then you just have like a smaller foot. But we're basically going to recreate this section at the top. That's going to be that bit. So I'm happy to have like the curved bend, but it needs to have more of this kind of section here. I mean, that's kind of a point. That's just like an extra strut. It doesn't really... I'm just looking at... Okay, so we want the pistons to go in. Okay, up. When the piston expands, push that solid bit backwards. So the thing is, this isn't even a piston, it's just a rod. There's nowhere for it to compress into, unless this is like a plastic cover, which it isn't because it's painted silver. So you can see there on the thing, it's not even really working as... It's not really a piston. It can't go into there because that's supposed to be a joint. That's supposed to be a moving joint. It can't go into there because that's supposed to be a moving joint. So there's nowhere for it to go. So this is like a solid rod, essentially. So this, even that physically can't move. This can move and that can move, and it can possibly move a little bit this way, but because this is so big, it's blocking it. Anyway, it doesn't make... I've looked at this a lot. It doesn't make sense. So I'm going to cut away from here, and then I'm going to pretty much remove the whole of this. So I'm going to cut away this first. Okay. Now the biggest problem with this I can see is getting everything to fit back together again later on. So what I want to go here is a larger joint, essentially. So I want a... So it's a thigh, that's the knee. So if you can see here, this was actually just a full-on knee joint, and this is how this attached like that. It would even look better just from that adjustment, because it would almost like be that this could move around. But yeah. So the first thing I need to get is some sort of new joints that we can use. I can use anything. I'm going to try and use something from the AdMech kit, simply because if you're an AdMech player, you're more likely to have these to hand. So I think it's more reasonable. Perfect. These are from the Honor Jejune colour, and these are basically the extra foot panels that you can have if you want to have like the heavier, almost emplacement-like feet. But if you just want to have the spike feet, then you can have them left over. So yeah, these are kind of perfect for this kind of work. We might need to trim them down a little bit and push them in, but I reckon if we were to modify that, yes, let's do that. So first thing I'm going to do is I don't want to do this, but I'm going to clip that away completely. Fine. So as a mock-up goes, we're going to have that like that. So that's going to allow that's essentially going to be the heel joint. So that's going to be flexing forwards. We're going to have a section above this. So imagine that these are not on the edges, but there, and it's essentially going to be like that. So you can see how this can move back, and we suddenly have a lot more movement in that whole structure then. I'm actually tempted to keep this. It actually fits quite well, but I think that the legs will knock against each other. So if I put them more like that, I actually think this makes the legs longer too, which is no one can blame me about disliking the length of the legs as well. So the first thing I'm going to do here is I'm going to figure out a way of getting this onto here. So let's remove this middle section. You can see where I'm going with this. I'm trying to think about replacing the leg with this. So if this leg fits around here, like that, then we almost have that section of leg done. I think we can pull it off. I'm just a bit cautious about how far those legs bend. That's the only thing. I could have this on the outer edge and then have a strut running down the center. That might work as well. Also helps to bulk out the legs a little bit. So I'm going to clip that away. I can keep that one. I might remove... I'm going to remove this for now. I feel like I'm doing a lot of chopping here, and I hope that this is the right direction, because if I mess up, I literally only have one of these in my... Well, there's no way of getting any more of these until next week, so I need to make sure that I don't mess this up, because there's no going back from this. So normally when you're watching a video of mine and I'm doing this kind of work, I will have already done it. I write the script after I've done all the kit bashing converting, so I'm pretty confident in the way that I ended up doing it that worked. But at this point, at this kind of streaming live, doing essentially the kit bash at the time of doing it, sometimes I will literally just film loads of stuff and I'll put it together in the edit, and that's how it comes together. It's not necessarily how I built it, it's just, but it's the easiest way to convey how I built it, again, in the edit. Because most of the time, if I'm doing a kit bash, and it's quite an involved kit bash, I will always approach that kit bash differently the second time around. So I always try to think, well, if I'm going to convey this in the actual video, how am I going to explain that without necessarily saying that I did something completely different? Because I don't want people making the same mistakes as I do. And I used to admit those mistakes, but now I include those mistakes to say, I did it this way, don't do it that way, do it this way. I think that's generally better advice, to explain to people why you're not doing something a certain way and showing them why it doesn't work that way, than just assuming that people shouldn't do that and then they should know why. Yeah, I think if we have a section of this plasticard running down the center there, and we have this outer kind of strut forming this. So this means that this leg, if we have the legs together, this leg is ever so slightly forward. So he's almost like locked his legs in. So we're not going to see much movement. So if we have, yeah, these legs are going to be longer actually. They're going to be considerably longer. They're going to be big though. Don't forget to pray with every piece of part attached. Okay, let's figure this out now. So I think if I base the length on this section here, this is kind of like a fixed section. So if I base the length of this next part of the leg to here, now if I need to make some sort of join there, if I section, yeah, if I use this as the join, if I attach that and almost have some sort of, have that acting as the point of rotation. So that's the back of the leg. Actually, I need to make sure I get that right. So that's the point of rotation. I have a strut running up the center here, so it's kind of like a reinforced leg. And it doesn't need to even have like a piston, because the idea of this is there's nothing moving around. I don't know if I'm using the terms. I am not. I have no understanding of what. I'm sure there's probably some mechanical engineers in the chat right now who could just completely cringing at this. If I have no compression around the direction of rotation, then I don't need to worry about pistons, do I? Because at the end of the day, if this is just a solid strut this way, as long as nothing is being moved in here, then that's fine. I think that works. If you are a mechanical engineer, please do correct me in the chat. Why not use Sidonian Dragoon legs? Because a Sidonian Dragoon is massive. I haven't got one, but if you compare the miniature, if you compare a human, well, a Skatari-sized miniature to it, you'll see it's massive. It literally would be like, imagine if, I mean, this is a very specific reference, but if you imagine the wrong trousers, but then scaled, as in Wallace and Gromit, the wrong trousers, but in scaled maybe about 4 times difference, I think that would, yeah. You could have one leg, that's good. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to just try and kind of carve out some sort of hollow, just so I can have that that section fitting in there a little bit. I'm actually getting away with doing this from just one of these. I don't even need two, which is even bonus. This is me using even fewer components than I would normally do. So I'm going to use my file here just to kind of, it's roughly the same. So if I can get a groove with this, then that should work quite nicely. Well, that super chat took a long time to come through. I'm just checking. I'm thinking, is Victor D done another super chat? But that was like, when was that? It was ages ago. The moment I understood the shortness of my flesh, it disgusted me. I think a lot of these, a lot of the AdMech have taken the being under 6 foot far too seriously, overcompensating, I think. Okay. So I can get away with modifying this a little bit when it comes to the feet, because the feet are going to give me a little bit more wiggle room, so I can counteract. So if the foot is kind of in a weird position, I'll just put like a tactical rock underneath and have the claw. So I'm not going to worry too much about getting the legs perfectly level and so they can stand properly. I'll worry about that on the base. This is the great thing about basing, and I can understand why Games Workshop uses so many tactical rocks, because sometimes it's not always easy to get interesting poses on a perfectly flat surface, because there's only so many ways that a human can stand on a perfectly flat pose without necessarily like crouching or looking uncomfortable. To get a natural, comfortable pose that's quite different across lots of different models is very difficult indeed. Okay, so the problem with this is I'm going to repeat this on the exact same, on the next leg, and be as similar as possible. So that's going to be the biggest issue, I think. I don't think this one leg is going to be hard. It's going to be getting the same process repeated on the next leg. I think that's okay. I'm probably going to pin this though, because as you can see, it's a very small contact area, and for such a tall, spindly model as it is, I think we're going to need to do a bit of pinning. Right, what do we have? We need our pin vise, and we need our wire, and we need our heavy-duty clippers. Victor D, thank you very much. $5. The new Terminator Chaplain is a bit of a blank slate. Any interest in showing how to make it more visually interesting? Also, more beer money. Thank you very much. So it's pretty cool actually, because having the Raptors project, which there is another video in the works. Shall I show it? Yeah, I'll show it. So I am going off tangent. I'll come back to you, Victor D, and if I don't, just say you went on a tangent. So the Raptors project, as you know, I'm trying to do a fully kit-bashed Raptors army, and I'm building it slowly, and it's a good opportunity to take some models which would normally be very anti-Raptor aesthetic and rejig them to be a bit more Raptor friendly. And chaplains are pretty good rules-wise, and there's lots of options for them. You can have a chaplain on a bike, you can have a chaplain with a jump pack, you can have a chaplain in Terminator armor, or just on foot. So they're very versatile units. And I think it worked out. I think you can have like 12. I might be getting it wrong, but I think you can legally have like 12 chaplains in an army, because you can have 3 on a bike, 3 in Terminator armor, 3 on foot, and 3 with jump packs. I might be getting that wrong, but yeah, I think you can maybe have 12. Anyway, so yeah, I do want to include some Terminators in that army. So if I want to have a unit leader, I don't really fancy a captain, then the chaplain is a good option. But yeah, I kind of do like the fact that chaplain is a blank slate, because it means that if you want to go down more of a utilitarian route, like I do with my army, you can perfectly do that. You can stick some pouches on them. You don't have to remove all these intricate bone work and scroll work and everything like that. It's just pretty much blank slate. You can do what you want. If you want to go down that route, though, again, there are so many kits that you can use. There's the Black Templars upgrade kit is literally just full of. You can just pretty much buy that model and the Black Templars upgrade kit, and you don't even need to build into a Black Templar. There's just so many things on there that you can use. So yeah, Black Templars upgrade set, anything that is of those kind of armies which are very sort of like Dark Angels, Black Templars. Maybe even Blood Angels. There's so many options, and it's good because it means that you can convert that model to better represent your own army, and it's easy to do so. You could probably even make him a Wolf Priest, probably fairly easily, I think. But yeah, anyway, what I was saying was I have been working on another unit which is just like this one, is a little bit of a controversial kit, and that is the Desolation Marines. The ones with the big launchers, rocket launcher guns. And I like the rules for the Desolation Marines. Having played Space Marines and kind of looking at what units did well and what units didn't do well, I actually looked at the rules again and thought, you know what, those rules are pretty good. Even though they got nerfed in 10th edition, they're still pretty good. But I didn't like the models. So I've been working on a way to change them. And I know a few people have done this already, but this is my take. You're gonna get an early sneak peek about what I've been doing. So these haven't been painted yet, but they're in the process of being painted. So what I've done is I've actually taken. I'll show you my favorite one. Actually, I'd say this is my favorite guy. So what I've done is I've completely removed the rocket launcher and placed it on the back instead, and I've mounted it to the power pack. I've cut away the rail from the gun, and I've cut away the little launcher from there. And then each of the squad members is doing some sort of computer action. So they're almost like doing the targeting from the little consoles and stuff. So that guy's got the ARM computer. The unit sergeant I'm quite happy with. He's got like a little tablet computer, which is from one of the Horus Heresy vehicle kits. So I don't know. I just kind of think it kind of gives the models a little bit more. They don't just look like intercessors with different guns. I wanted them to be a little bit more different. Yeah, Mandalorian style, exactly how that have like a back launcher. A few people have built them as like shoulder carrying launchers, and I really like that idea, but I wanted to go a little bit different. So yeah, that video is hopefully due next week. But anyway, back to this one. I don't think I went off too off tangent then either, actually. I think I stayed on. Hang on. Yeah, okay, so this is the right leg, so we need to build it as such, and we're doing some pinning. I think someone mentioned, have you tried pinning with plastic? I have tried pinning with plastic, and it is entirely possible, but I just feel that pinning with metal just gives you that little bit extra rigidity. It's just, plastic works, it definitely helps, but I think just having I think it just works a little bit better, personally, from my experience. So we need to get an idea of how these two are going to line up. So what I'm going to do is, I'm going to do something which I don't normally do, but is something that I probably should do more, is I'm going to actually test fit the alignment, and then I'm going to make a mark. So I've just got some blue tack here, just so I can kind of hold these pieces against each other and how they're going to look. And then if we bring in the leg, it should give us an idea of how everything's going to line up. So I want this to go backwards, if anything. This section needs to go more backwards, and then this foot needs to go like that. So if we attach this, so this is the right leg. So if we build the leg like that, so essentially this is going to be, because remember, this is the knee joint, so this needs to go back. If you can't really raise your shin above the level of your knee, so if we can have it back, we need to have it back. And this is the ankle, this is the foot, and then we're going to have the toes there. So yeah, we need to have it something like that, I think. So I'm going to make a mark. My pencil is not in here. I'm going to make a quick mark on the just so I know where to put the pin, because then that will mean that both sides have got the same direction of the pin going into them, and I don't end up having the leg going in a funny direction. I'll just sharpening my pencil. So you can see how if I do a direct line across the both sides there, it should give me a better idea. Not marking very well. I did have a better pencil for this, but this one's not very good. This is just a... This is a sewing pencil. I don't know why I've got a sewing pencil for this. You know what? I might actually just use something else because... Use a little bit of paint. Legs that are actually articulated, I wonder how the tech priests never thought of that. This is the thing about the Adeptus Mechanicus. They're just so stuck in doing everything the same way as that they've been doing it for centuries. They just don't think, oh, maybe if we put our... That'll do. I hope I get the angle of that right, because it's not going on very well. I think the pencil, it's like a sewing pencil, I assume. I don't know how I've got hold of one of those. My normal pencil that I use for this is just not, I think it's in the garage. I think I left it in there. This is terrible. This is supposed to be like a really simple thing to do, and it's not working at all. I'm just going to scratch a line in it now. Okay, that'll do. I can clean that up afterwards. So hopefully this worked. We'll soon find out. So I've got to do a direct arrow down there. Don't have to go too far on this. I don't want to pop out the other end. So I'm just going to go a little bit in. Oh, a little bit too far then. Not too bad, I can fix that. And then, hopefully, this showed up, and it did. Okay, cool. So this needs to be at a slight angle. Try and get as straight as possible. It's quite difficult because this piece is quite small and flimsy, so I need to get a vise, to be honest. I really need a tabletop vise for something like this. I did have one, but then I never used it, and then so I got rid of it, and then I found lots of reasons to use it pretty much immediately after I'd gotten rid of it. So yeah, that's just the way things go. Okay, so I've gone the whole way through that. I didn't really mean to, but I think I hit a hollow cavity. That's not a problem because that actually might be better, thinking about it. We'll see. I get to cover that up anyway with some pipe later on. So we're going to do the pin now, and I brought some fresh glue because my other glue was terrible. Keep drilling right through my stuff as well, usually right into a finger. Yeah, that's happened to me before. The ironic thing is, I actually don't cut myself very often with a knife. Whenever I do tend to cut myself, it's usually like a pin prick with a really narrow gauge drill bit. This glue is very runny, so I'm trying to make sure I don't take too much out. There we go, perfect. So place a little bit in the hole. You don't even really need to glue it, to be honest. The plastic glue will hold it in place. The pin is there just to add a little bit extra structure. So we're just going to clip that down to about what I need, which shouldn't be much. Then, hopefully, if everything lined up properly, we should see... Wait. Oh no. I've drilled it into the wrong hole. I've drilled it the wrong way. How did I manage that? Oh no, it's right. It's okay. It's me. I kind of forgot which way I was going. Okay, cool. So that is the new leg, or at least part of the new leg. We're okay. I thought it was worse than it was. I'd immediately forgotten what it was I was supposed to be doing then. So yeah, we're going to basically have this. What I'm going to do is I'm going to clip away that section. I'm going to keep the knee, I think. I don't know. Maybe not. I think I'm going to get rid of this section here. I'll keep that. I might cut it down, and then I'm going to have this attached into there. So I'm going to pin that. I'm going to have another rod which runs down that center section there, just to kind of add a little bit extra strength. So from the front, it'll look a little bit wider, and it'll also look a bit longer, I think. So far it's not much longer, but because the leg is bent, it'll actually be about the same height, but the legs will actually be longer. Question: how would you do the lore of the Space Marines that are secretly lizard men, or could turn into lizard men? I suppose you can base it around. You could do a few things, because obviously you could argue that there are other chapters already which have that problem. So you have obviously the salamanders have a physical defect, which is, well, a gene defect, which is triggered by their planet. So you can have something which is maybe only triggered in a certain situation or a certain way, which they can avoid if they can. You could have it as some sort of degeneration with maybe the Black Rage for the Blood Angels, or the Red Thirst, something like that. You could have it so over time through warfare, something maybe like some sort of genetic trauma. I don't know. You can make it up. It's great for 40k. You don't have to follow science at all. Mechanical engineering, though, you do have to follow, but science you don't. You could also have Space Wolves, so they also have this kind of, they have, what is it, the Canis Helix or something like that, which is their wolfiness that comes out. And there isn't there, someone can probably confirm this, but it isn't that, well, I suppose there's Wolfen, isn't there? But there's yeah, if you think about Wolfen for Space Wolves, but I'm sure that in one of the old Horus Heresy books, there was a mention that the wolves, Space Wolves, can degenerate to such a point where they no longer represent any form of humanoid. They're entirely wolf-like, and that's what the Fenrisian wolves are. They're not actually, I don't know, I could be wrong with that one, but I'm sure I remember some sort of thing alluding to that. But again, I could be wrong, so do not take me at face value for that one. Right, so this is a little bit more straightforward. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to clip away that. You can see where there's a little bit of a lip there. We can clip that away, and we can go straight into clipping this flat. And then, that was a terrible job of doing that flat. File that down a little bit, get it nice and flat. And then we can do some more pinning. Never done so much pinning in this video. In one of these videos, it's great. So, this is another trick as well, another pinning trick which I'm going to be sharing, which hopefully will go as well as, if not better than the last one, because that one didn't go very well at all. So if you have a surface which is quite smooth and quite small and delicate, and you want to make sure you get dead in the center, if you take a tip of a fresh blade, you want to make sure you have a nice point on there. And what you need to do is just basically roughly find the center, and just do a really, really gentle twist in there. Now, because this is a really sharp point, you don't need to do any pressure whatsoever. You just twist it around. And you can see that makes a tiny little hole in the center of the piece. You can see it there. And that gives you a little bit of a guideline as to where you can put your pin vise. So when you actually come in with this, you're not having to make a hole with the point of the drill bit, and those points can end up blunting out very quickly. So it's just a good way of doing an extra little hole in there. So we're going to do a little bit of a shallow. We don't want to go too deep on this one. Okay, there we go. We've got a nice, fairly central hole there. Never thought I'd see the day that Pete denounces the vertically challenged. Well, I am one of those 6'2" people, so pretty much everyone is shorter than me. So yeah, this is the thing. I'm just tall elitist. I'm a height elitist. Okay, so this is the back of the leg, so we need to make sure that we drill into this side, and it doesn't matter where we go on that one. We just need to go into the. I have not forgotten about the Twitch chat. Do not worry. Although I haven't responded to anything for a while. Screw BA, have you seen the proxy for this dude on Maker's Cult? I have not, but I have seen Kabuski's proxy, who has just joined the chat over on Twitch, and also hello to Rudexman. Hello from France. Hello from England. Bonjour. Ça va? Ça va bien, merci, et vous? And that is the extent of my French knowledge. Is Yankee in the chat, by the way? I haven't seen him. He's been very quiet if he's not here. Maybe it's because the stream isn't about Necromunda. That's probably why. Definitely sound like a British person speaking French there. Hello, Yankee. I'm gonna set my New Year's resolution to get back to learning German again, because I would like to go to Spiel next year. Or Spieler. Is it Spieler or Spieler? I can't remember. But yeah, I very much lapsed on my German learning. And every now and again I'll go back and I'll have a little look, and I'll kind of forget to go back again for a while. I'm trying. It's my New Year's resolution. So hopefully this next year I'll be able to have this time next year I'll have Pete the Wargamer Deutsch, and then we'll have Pete the Wargamer English. Oh God. I would hate the idea of having to do a full video in. It's hard enough doing a script in English sometimes, let alone an entirely different language. Band of Goblins, thank you very much. When you're watching stuff live, the problem is you see all the mistakes. I mean, that's a good thing probably. I don't get to go through the whole editing process when I'm doing things live, which means I make mistakes. But also, in a way, it's kind of like the extreme sport version of doing my videos. So yeah, we've got 2 holes again. We're going to pin those together, and that's hopefully going to give us a nice strong bond between the two. Kabuski, I should mention as well. If you want to share the variant of this one that you did, feel free to, and I'll cross-post it over to YouTube as well. That was really good. I'd find it myself, but I'm currently in the middle of supergluing. Pete the Kriegsspieler. Yeah. That sounds right. Trouble is, I think I just get a lot of people who watch my normal stuff and think that I've just decided to cosplay as like a VTuber, but like a Deathcore or Krieg version. Just going to remove that excess super glue there. All right, so clip that down, and shouldn't need that much on this side. Yeah, I'm just thinking of doing all this, and then I realise I've got to do it all again on the other leg. So hopefully this works. Hopefully this works. He said with such surety. Oh no, this is the problem. I haven't drilled the hole deep enough, and I didn't let the super glue dry, so it's now popped out of there. Let's pop it back in. As I was saying, you don't get to see any of this kind of thing in the normal videos. You get to see all these mistakes, all these little annoying things where I'm probably going to super glue something to my fingers. Yeah, I'm going to have to start that again. Pete, do you think that every day of the Advent calendar is a different model, or do you think that it'll be all of these together make this range? It's an interesting one because obviously they've done the Advent calendar in the past, and I don't know what their track record is, to be honest. It'd be interesting maybe to go back and have a look at the one from last year, because so the one today was looked like a minefield sign, which is going to be Astra Militarum in some way, shape, or form. I think that's kind of a given. And obviously combined with the stuff that we've had in the past from, I'm just going to leave that to cure a little bit more because it wasn't very firmly attached last time. It's obviously a minefield. The last one was very different. It was like it was a torso with a spear through it, and it had a purity seal attached to it. But purity seal was interesting. It had like a crossbones on it, didn't it? Which was interesting. So that could be Astra Militarum, but I don't think it is. It looks Imperial. I don't think there's much else that uses purity seals. Maybe something from Age of Sigmar. It's got to be the new Krieg plastic refresh. Purity seal is Age of Sigmar. Yeah, there wasn't anything really on there that we'll have a quick look. Whilst I wait for that cure, we're going to go off tangents. So, oh look, it's my Kickstarter. Please back it if you like plastic bits for your range. If you like the Citadel skull set, then you'll love this. And I'll paste the. There you go. That's the on the hour version of this. There we go. Kabuski, feel free to just drop the link in on Twitch. It should come through. If not, put it on YouTube, and I'll cross share it. Right. So should we have a look at the Advent calendar? Let's have a look. So the first one was feathers. It could literally be anything. It could be Blood Angels. It could be Thousand Suns. It could be anything. Very vague. Wings don't really explain much. There's maybe something very specific about this kind of style of wing, but apart from that, nothing too much. So if we go back, so that was the first. Second, so this is a skull. So you can kind of see something there. It looks like... Let's zoom in on that one a little bit. To me, that looks like branches. It's either two things. It's either fire or it's like branches, like Sylvaneth style branches. They look very similar to that, but the pure seal doesn't really fit in with Sylvaneth. So yeah, I'm thinking it's fire, but then it doesn't necessarily fit with this either. But we'll see. It could be anything. There's like a broken section here as well. So it's yeah. Anyway, we'll find out, I guess. That one's quite an interesting one. But the most recent one, the one from today, which is there, is, yeah. So, sector 13645058 something, minefield, yeah. Quite clear. It looks like it's on the edge of a base as well, so you can see just like this base texture. It looks like the sand that you get on most Warhammer miniatures bases. Barbed wire, human skull for scale, probably a basing item. It could be from a character, but it could also be some of the rumors that we've been seeing about having a Horus Heresy new army for Horus Heresy, new plastic army, which could be that. I'm going to have a look actually last year. Let's see if it pops up if I search the Advent calendar. Advent engine. I reckon it's not going to show up. no, we have to go back even further. November. Probably best looking on Google for this one. Might take a while. Talk amongst yourselves for a little bit. Still quite a few. There's every now and again the image will pop up on Instagram or Twitter or something like that where people will share the stuff which actually hasn't been released yet, and there's still some stuff from quite a while ago that's been knocking around in the old rumor engine for quite a while. Okay, so we're in December now. Did they do one last year? I feel like they did do one, but I can't see one in here. It's quite interesting to look at some of these and see if you can figure out which ones these are for. So that's the assassin, wasn't it? That one was. Yeah. I'm going to get all the advent calendars now, aren't I? I'm sure they did one. I'm not going mad, am I? Maybe I am. I feel like they did that. They've done this before, haven't they? I feel like I'm going crazy here, but maybe they haven't. Maybe they just made it up completely. Yeah. Anyway, so we have a slightly better fit now, hopefully. I'll just clean that up a little bit just because there was a little bit of super glue from last time. I might just make that hole slightly bigger because I think the last time it was just a little bit too small. And that's why I struggled. They did, but they didn't make it last year. Ah, okay. I'm not going to go back to 2021. Yeah, I'm sure they did it. Be interesting to know actually how many of those rumor engines have actually come true in the last year or so. Oh, this is really not fitting. I don't think I've drilled the hole big enough. I think that's the problem. Yeah, that's exactly what I've done. The wire has not been cut short enough, so I don't think I've got a little bit more extra room to drill into that one, so let's go this way. I thought I drilled in further to that one, but maybe I didn't. Let's try again. Still a little bit more. This is why you should dry fit, folks, and then you don't end up getting glue all over your fingers as you're trying to fix a problem. Right, okay, try again. There, that's better. Still a little bit off-center. Probably didn't want it to be as off-center as that, but kind of stuck now. I might see if I can pull that out. If I can pull this out, then let's use my old clippers. Yeah. Kabuski, thank you very much for sharing that. I shall share it on to Mr. Rascal. Well. I should point out that on Twitch, if you're on YouTube, you can't see this, but Rascal is someone I worked with for... How long did we work together? Quite a while, didn't we? But yeah, it's been a while. I hope you're doing well. 7 years. So yeah, this is from back in my days of before I became full-time YouTube and did web development for a living. That's one of the ghosts from my past surfacing in my Twitch career. But yeah, Kabuski, let me get that link for if you share it on Instagram, I'll share it myself. Is that the one? Yeah, that's the one. Just look up Altus Marksman. I will do. Thank you very much. So okay, cool. Right, so this is from friend of the channel, Kabuski. This is a slightly different variation of the old Skatros. So if you like the idea of them, but you want something a bit more bulky, a little bit more different looking, then definitely check them out. Oh yeah, thank you very much. I'm having a good time. I've got my Kickstarter going, which has been pretty much worked on since April now, so it's pretty cool now to kind of get that actually out in the wild. But yeah, I hope you're doing well too. Drop me a message after this. Just drop me a message on Messenger or something as well. Catch up. Right, okay, so the problem I faced was I didn't dry fit, which meant that the angle of this was actually slightly off, which isn't good because it meant that if you look at the inline of the legs there, it's not quite in line. So I'm going to probably have to chop something down. I'm thinking of chopping this side down because I haven't got much to play with on the other side. So we're going to cut this down a little bit. I'm going to have to lose the little studs and rivets, but that's just the price of progress, I think. Okay. Yeah, that's better. Let's file this side down. I'm going to drill that hole out again. For the third time, I'm going to try and pin this. And again, this is exactly what happens in most builds, I would say. I think the stuff that you see in the actual videos is very much the end result. That's the mistakes that are made. I've had to redo sections of it because they messed up, and yeah. It's just starting to come through. That's as far as I can go before that's going to start coming out the other end. So I literally can't go any deeper than that one. I'm going to widen the hole ever so slightly just to make that easier for that pin to get placed, and also give me a little bit more wiggle room. Oh mate, thank you. Thank you very much, Jamie. You really didn't have to you didn't have to do that. Thank you so much. Yeah, thank you very much to Jay Rascal over on Twitch, who has just gifted 10 tier 1 subs to my community. Thank you very much, mate. I really appreciate that. Thank you for keeping the old lights on for the stream. I just got an ad as soon as I did my first gift something. I'll mention it again when the ad's finished. Let's get that doing. Let's try this again. No, I'm going to glue that first. All right, let's try go this way. Oh, it's just really kind of tight, that one, isn't it? I'm going to try and clip down as much. This is so... Why is this so fiddly? It's like such a simple pin, but it's just not working anywhere near. It just doesn't help that I have the world's biggest kind of wire cutters to hand. Oh, Jesus. Okay, hopefully that is short enough. Right, there we go. Okay, I think that's better. Yep, that's looking a lot better than it was. Possibly need to do a little bit of bending, but I think we have... Oops. It's a great thing to happen as soon as you put some super glue on something that's you drop it on the carpet. It's always good. Thank you very much, Rascal, for... I don't know if you saw this because I noticed it just as you did the GIF sub, and then obviously the ad started, so I don't know if you heard this. I don't know how... I don't think you did. But thank you very much. You really, really didn't have to do that, but I massively appreciate that you did that. Thank you very much. Right, okay. Have we got the angle right? I probably should have checked this before I super glued it. So we want the... There we go. Oh, that's worked out quite well. I think that's actually... I'm going to need to clean up a few things and modify a few things and figure out a way to get this pipe down the center to work. But this is going to be... I'm tempted to use 2 different thicknesses to have like a piston effect, personally. Appreciate it all the same. Thank you very much for your support. Pete using the tools that Cole used to make this unit. Pretty much, yeah. Just giant. I can probably get like smaller ones of these, but I think these are just the ones that I could get a hold of from like locally. So I just grab these. It's just so overkill. I think they're for like cut. I mean, if you can see how like chunky they are, they could like probably take your finger off actually. Totally unnecessary, but they do the job. Sometimes that's all you want. Now, this is the bit that gets tricky. So I have some what is 1.2 millimeter diameter wire, which I don't need. So if I remember right, I think these are 1 millimeter. So what I'm going to try and do is kind of try and make a piston using this and then drilling a hole down the center of it to create a kind of a rough piston effect. It shouldn't really be necessary, but I think it'll just add a little bit of variation along the length of that. Now the only thing is it's not perfectly straight for some reason. Oh, there we go. Okay, that's why. Let's... Okay, that should be okay. So if I have... I'm going to try out with a piece of this just to make sure that it is actually working and I've got the idea right in my head. Is there any thoughts for more Dead Animal bits if this Kickstarter succeeds? Yes, so this is something that I kind of was going to be talking about on the Kickstarter project itself and probably the future. So yeah, the idea of this whole thing isn't just to be a single one and done kit. This is hopefully going to be the first of many. I just thought Dead Animal Bits seems to be the ideal option, really, considering that we have... let me just mark that out. Using my sewing pencil for some reason. Dead Animal Bits just seem like the obvious first choice, but yeah, the whole idea really is to go for something which is a range of different utility kits, which is kind of the easiest way of describing them, really. And I've got so many ideas. I'm not even sure if this one goes well. I think the problem isn't going to be coming up with ideas. It's going to be choosing which ideas to go with. But the idea is to make every single kit themed around a particular use. So one idea that I've had is kind of, it was mutations and maladies kind of thing. So it would be things like bone spikes, tentacles, things that you would associate with like chaos, Space Marines or Nurgle Marines, things like that, but they would be more like generic mutations or and what I would try to do is to look at how big the common shoulder joint is on a Space Marine and kind of design things around which would work with the Space Marine or things that fit into the neck hole. Kind of think about I guess the Chaos Spawn kit, if you imagine the kind of stuff that you see in that, but more broad, not just designed for Chaos, but lots of different... I've got a lot of ideas. Basically, it's going to be a lot of tentacles and spikes and things like that, stuff that I would like to use. I knew I cut that too small. Yeah, I definitely think the piston idea works best. So I've got that idea. I've got an idea for a set which is basically things like spell books, potion bottles, candles, things you would imagine in more of like a fantasy setting, in like a wizard's study. There is a idea for parts which are mechanical parts, so pipes, cogs, gears, little kind of exhaust, little engine cog parts, things like that. All these different little bits in plastic. That's going to be more of like a probably more of a sci-fi steampunk use of a kit. And then the other one that I had was, which is a personal favorite of mine, which is something I would very much like to exist as I'm building my Raptors, is one which is basically just things like pouches, grenades, holsters, and the idea is to be as generic as possible. So if you want to use it for, I don't know, some sort of like a World War II style model, then you can do. You can go for a bit more like contemporary military, but you could also use it in sci-fi settings and maybe even use it in like fantasy settings to a certain degree. But yeah, lots of ideas. I've got more dead animal bits kit ideas, basically, which is why the whole thing is like, if you look on the Kickstarter, it's the spare parts emporium, which will be the range of parts basically, which will have these going forward. So let's do a drill into there. Hopefully I can keep this perfectly aligned, which I'm not super confident in my ability to, so we'll see how it goes. Call that one the pouch plethora. Yeah, it's kind of like I've been working on the Kickstarter since about like the getting things done behind the scenes from about April, I think it was June, May, June. I think it started off in April, and then I kind of got the ball rolling in around May, something like that. But yeah, it's been kind of just being tinkered on in the background, and I've had it sculpted, and then I've been doing all the prep for the Kickstarter, which has taken a while, which is why I didn't do as many videos in October, essentially, because I was just working on that. See, I knew these aren't 1mm. Why did they tell me that it was 1mm? Dead animal bit should be all over the brand name though, since it is your signature. Now, this is the thing. I've got to be careful though, because obviously I've had some interesting messages since I started the Kickstarter. So one person seemed to completely misjudge what the Kickstarter was about. They seemed to believe that the Kickstarter was, I don't know how, I feel like they just read the title and no more. I guess I think they were trying to spam me some sort of marketing service as well at the same time. But one person said, "Oh, I'm interested to learn more about how you figured out how to convert dead animal bits into plastic material." And I was like, "What?" And I can only assume that they believe that I've invented some sort of way that you could mechanically or chemically repurpose leftover animal parts to make plastic. So yeah, I think it's because it kind of had plastic conversion bits in the title of the Kickstarter, so I've changed it to plastic conversion kit or something like that. So it's like it's basically what the Kickstarter launched, and I think I had about, initially from the Kickstarter had been live for about an hour or two, and I had about 20 messages come through like pretty much immediately. And only one of those 20 was actually like a genuine question from someone asking something, and the rest were literally just people who had created accounts less than a month ago and were saying, "Oh, if you need someone to sell advertising, or we've got a spreadsheet which has hundreds of backers and super backers or whatever they call them, who would be willing to back your project if you just spend this amount of money." I'm thinking, this is just such an obvious scam. Like, why would anyone go for this? But I guess some people get desperate, I suppose, as the Kickstarter goes on, and they get worried. That drill bit's far too big. But yeah, it's been quite interesting. Some of them are a little bit better. Some of them are a little bit more clever about how they approach it. They will first of all ask you like a genuine question, some question you would imagine someone actually wanting to ask you, and then they kind of go off on a tangent and then try to sell you stuff. So they ask you a question to kind of get you to respond. I think some people have completely misjudged what the whole idea of Kickstarter is and not understood what that is, which is understandable, but I have tried to be as clear as possible. But it's quite interesting, yeah, just the creativity that people try to scam you with. Taxidermy with plastic, yeah, pretty much. So yeah, that's why, as I was saying, that was pretty much why I'm reluctant to kind of go down the whole dead animal bits in terms of, I think whilst within my own audience it makes sense, and I think I have seen people use the term outside as well, and I think there's a few people who understand what it means in the context of Warhammer. If you say someone dead animal bits in the context of Warhammer, they can put two and two together and figure it out. But I think as a product that's on a shelf, I don't know if it would necessarily be as clear, essentially. So yeah, to put simply, that's why I haven't called it just the dead animal bits range. And also, it's not all going to be dead animal bits. That's just going to be probably a small part of it, actually. But I did decide to lead with it. I know it's not necessarily going to be as useful to everyone. Some people will find more use in some of the later kits, but obviously I thought if I was going to start anywhere, it had to be dead animal bits. I couldn't do anything else, really. Okay, that'll work. I can use plastic glue on this bit at least. There's some dead man animal bits in there. There is, yeah. I mean, humans are animals at the end of the day. We're not trees. We're not insects. We're not bacteria or viruses. We are of the kingdom Animalia. If you look on Wikipedia, to get technically in sciencey. So yeah, I've just taken a thicker bit. I think it's 2 mil or 3 mil thick plastic rod, I believe, and then it's probably 3 mil, and then I've placed a little bit of 1 millimeter plastic rod in there. So I'm just going to get the length of that right, and then I'm going to cut this down and have it like a piston. Just to add a little bit more visual interest, really. Would you consider doing different style storm shields? I'm guessing you mean in the context of a kit. So yeah, one of the ideas, not necessarily storm shields, because the thing is that I want to do with the kits overall, I don't want to just be, oh, I'm the guy who makes kits for Warhammer. I want it to be if you are someone who is building miniatures for D&D, if you're doing a pretty much you're doing a fantasy game that's not Warhammer, you're something like Stargrave or Frostgrave, or I don't know, even if you're doing something like historicals, you want something just maybe like spruce up a model, put something on the base or something like that. I've tried to make it as generic as possible, and that's what I want to do going forward. Now, one thing I did toy with the idea is things like heraldic devices and like embossed detailing, things like that. So because I think that's generic enough to find use anywhere. So you could use it on sci-fi things like Space Marines, or you could use it in fantasy things, or you could also use it in historical things if you can make sure you get historical settings right. So I was thinking of things like maybe like a heater shaped shield, so like the kite shield shape, but like as tilt shields, little rondels, basically just components that would go in to make armor, but not necessarily a whole arm or a gauntlet, something you could attach to another model and use it to flesh out the detail. But yeah, lots of ideas. But yeah, I basically need, as long as this gets done, as long as this Kickstarter gets going, we will be definitely be doing some more. Whether or not that involves going through, Kickstarter again in the future, it probably will, just because unfortunately getting all that funding together to get those sprues made and to get the initial setup costs, it's expensive. Plastic is really good at kind of scaling and being cost effective at scale, but getting that initial setup is just very expensive. I need to get someone to pay for sculpting, someone needs to prepare and make the mold, it's got to get to the production facility, it's got to pay for the shipping for that, it's got to be the initial production runs have got to be set up as well. And then, yes, there's a lot of costs to go into it, but once it's up and running, then obviously it ends up being more of a, it's cheaper to run long term, which is why I haven't gone down the STL aspect. A lot of people have said, oh, can you release these as STLs? But I kind of specifically didn't want to, mainly because I think, first of all, the market for STLs is already far, far too saturated at the moment. So it's very hard to make any kind of impact on the STL market at the moment, because a lot of people do STLs, and I mean, I get why. It's so much easier. You literally just pay for someone to sculpt stuff, and you print some off. People don't even print them off anymore, do they? To display. I wanted something that was specifically a little bit different, a little bit more accessible for most people, and also a material which is easier to work with. Doing this kind of things with 3D printed parts is a lot harder, and it's just something I wanted. I wanted a kit which had all those bits, so I thought, well, if I'm in a position to make one, then why not? I'm going to cut this a little bit longer than I need, just so I can trim it down further as I go. I feel like it's going to be one of those situations where I don't want to cut too much away. Let's get little tweezers in there so I can make sure things are being held properly. A little bit more. This is where I make far too much of a cut and really mess things up. Not much more, just a little bit more to go now. Tiny little bit more. I would love to see some dead plant bits to help with basing and other things. Yeah, that'd be cool. Yeah, I think that is definitely another aspect. Things like tree roots and leaves and vines and things like that. Things that you could either drape over your models and put on your bases or anything like that. Even things like little mushrooms and toadstools would be really useful in plastic. I mean, those kits already exist. This is the thing. There's not. I don't necessarily think anything I'm doing is particularly revolutionary in what I'm making. I think what is different really is the fact that I'm making it in plastic. Most people who have released those kind of components and things like that have done so with resin, or they've done so as STLs, and that's what I'm trying to be a little bit different with. I'm trying to offer something which is a bit more unique and a little bit more offers something different that other people do. But yeah, there's so many options, but I'm trying not to get too ahead of myself, because I want to make sure that this gets funded first and that this Kickstarter goes well. I think I've cut away too much there. I think I definitely cut away too much. Yeah, gee, I knew that I'd do that. I so knew that I would do that. Okay, how can we fix this now? Can we put one of these little cut-off sections back on the top? Why did I do that, honestly? That was such a silly mistake. We can fix it. I've got an idea. just going to start again. This is also the trouble with doing stuff live streaming compared to on a normal video, because normally if I'm on a video, I can just sit in quiet and just concentrate on what I'm doing. But when I'm doing these kind of things, I often go on a bit of a stream of waffling on about various different things. So I just get distracted, end up making silly mistakes like cutting a pipe too small. I've spent far too long making sure was just long enough, which is why it's been an hour and a half and I've not even completed the first leg. So it's going well. It's going well. If I use that as a guide, cut a little bit higher, that should... Okay. What I'm tempted to do actually is, if I drill... Oh, actually, have I got a hole down there already? If I pop it that way... Yeah, I'm going to switch this around. So if I can get that hole in there... then I can possibly put this in there, and it doesn't matter too much about the length then, because that can just go in the hole. It does need to be a bit smaller though. Try not to repeat it again, shall we? Okay. Okay, that's better. I'm just going to glue that in place now and not touch it, because I feel like if I mess around it anymore, I'm going to... So that could have been a bit better at the top. I could have flattened that surface out a little bit more, but it's not terrible. And actually, because I've done the piston, the actual slight angle makes a little bit more sense, because even though that would be rotating and it would be changing the length of this, the piston kind of... So yeah, there we go. That's the redesigned leg. If we compare it against the original leg, you can see that we actually have an even longer leg now. So as I said, I am not against the length of the legs in any way, stretch or form. I was just simply aware against the mechanical practicality of the legs themselves. So yeah, basically just got to repeat that whole thing now. And if I attach this now, this should actually give me a good idea as to how this leg will line up. So if we have... So if we have the leg kind of going out this way, and this is the thing, the foot is probably... I'll show you the sprue. So the sprue actually comes with the feet. You can see it like that. It's almost like a flat plate, and the feet are actually sculpted onto the base. They're not actually separate feet, because they're supposed to be like direct in it, but yeah. I'm quite happy with that. Fish like the stuff you found in Idoneth kits, though that might be a bit too specific. Yeah, I mean, this is the thing. There is so much stuff, and the whole problem is that it's like I need to think about enough stuff to put into a single kit and to make it worthwhile for people to pick up that kit, and there's enough stuff in there, which is... So even though the reason why this particular kit has leaned very heavily on horns and antlers and things like that is just because when I was trying to think of what parts I've used in the past is, whilst I've used lots of dead animal bits like fur cloaks and tabards and lizard scale skin and stuff like that, there's lots of different options, but I'm thinking, well, if I focus on one aspect, then I avoid the problem of someone going, well, I really like the horns in that kit, but then there's a second dead animal bits kit which has some other horns in, and I really like the horns in that, and I'm kind of forcing people to go for one or the other. So I've tried to come up with a bunch of ideas. I've tried to isolate the ones that I think I've just gone on what I would think would like, and a few things that people have asked me where I can get parts from. So I've tried to group them into one sprue, and then if this goes well and I come up with another idea for a kit, then I will do another sprue of Dead Animal bits or another type, and maybe that one will have things like fur pelts in it, and those kind of things, so that it'll be more themed within its own genre, if that makes sense. I feel like I'm just waffling, but yeah, it makes sense in my head. Playing anything good recently? Yes. So what have I been playing recently? I actually noticed you played the demo. I played Let's Train Home. I haven't played it much, but I've actually quite enjoyed that. It's kind of I can't really describe what it's like, anything I've played in the past. It's an interesting game. I really like the background. The gameplay on the map looks very much like the way Company Heroes plays, which I quite enjoy, but then you get a little squad and you have to manage them in between when they're on the train. You have to find resources. So I quite like that aspect of it. I'm pretty terrible on the tactical side of things, but I like managing the train. So yeah, I picked that up. I've been playing that recently. Too complicated for me. I kind of enjoyed it because I've also been going back and forth to he's playing Modern Warfare 3 non-stop. To be fair, I am actually playing Modern Warfare 3 non-stop. The biggest reason for that is because the zombies mode is actually really good, and you can me and my wife play it. So I go on, I play it on the PC and she plays it on the Xbox. So yeah, we enjoy we enjoy that. But I am pretty much playing Modern Warfare 3 non-stop. I've literally only played zombies mode. I've not even done anything else. XCOM meets Frostpunk. Yeah, it's got that kind of aspect of Frostpunk. So it's not as obviously it's not turn-based like XCOM is, but it's all like real time. But you can pause it and do tactical modes. But another game that I've actually enjoyed that I meant to pick up a while ago, I've been playing Midnight Suns as well. The Marvel game I quite like. That's more like XCOM, but it's like a turn-based and has the card deck builder aspect, which is pretty fun. Quite like that one. Okay, so we've done one leg and it's only taken half the stream, so hopefully we can do the second leg. But we do have an idea of what works and what doesn't work now, so let's go ahead. What I'm tempted to do is to glue these. I'm going to trim everything down, cut everything off that we decided to cut off last time, the exact same, and then I'm going to glue these legs together. What I want to do really is to have a really good idea of how the stance is going to look, because I feel like if I get that wrong, it can make the legs look incredibly weird and janky. So got to the train management and there was tons of menus. It is very menu heavy, and I was very much kind of, when I got to the point of that, I was a bit like but I have, to be fair, I'm the kind of person who just does enjoy a good menu in a game. I have been playing a lot of Victoria 3 as well. I really enjoy Victoria 3 because it's just such a crazy game. You can play as pretty much any country and then just completely go against what history did for that country. And then it's also great because most countries tend to be fairly, you maybe playing as like a European country, you're doing your own thing, something like that, and then you suddenly look over to see what America's doing, and then all of a sudden, like, Canada's invaded America, or Mexico's invaded America, or America's now in it's split. The Civil War went a very different way, and they're now two completely different states. It's quite an interesting game for that kind of thing, just like an alternate history aspect. But yeah, it's a fun game, but there's a lot of menus in that game. If you like menus, Victoria 3 is a good game for menus, and I like menus in games. We've got to have the legs look weird. Listen, the whole point of this stream is to fix the legs. If I do nothing else in this stream, if I don't even make the legs look better, if I just glued the legs back together, I need to not make them look worse. I can't have such a... To be fair, the title of this stream is very ambiguous. It's can I make it? I wasn't claiming that I can. I was just simply posing the question. But no, I do understand the irony of worrying about the legs looking weird on this model when it is a pretty weird looking model already. I play Football Manager and Stellaris, lots of menus. I'm a big fan of menus. I enjoy the menus. Thanks anyway, Jamie. Thank you. Thanks for tuning in, and thank you very much for all of those gift subs as well. So yeah, it's good to speak to you on stream. But yeah, have a good evening, mate. I wonder if it would have been easier to use the legs of a Patraxi and extend those with metal wire. Possibly would have been. I actually got some Patraxi to hand. I mean, the thing is about them, if you look at the kind of the size of the legs, obviously you've got the knee joint enclosed. There's a bit of a difference in scale, so you'd really need to like press those out. I think that's the only thing I think would be difficult. It's definitely not impossible though. I mean, you could even maybe incorporate something from the wings as well. But what I want to do with this is try to use as few components to do this as possible. And I think, considering that the only part from that that's from another kit is this, which you have. I've lost the other part though. Oh, there, it's there. Okay, we've got it. It's safe. It's just that part there, and that's from an Onager Dunecrawler, which if you pick up, pretty much any Skatari player, I imagine, has, unless they built the kit with this, of course, has this in their box. They have probably one Onager Dunecrawler because I think they've been in pretty much every Start Collecting, Combat Patrol, Christmas box since these guys came out. So those parts are not hard to find. So yeah, I've tried to make it as limited in parts so you can basically just buy the kit, buy this, and then job's done. So this one, we need to retain this kind of knee armor plate and also this ball joint here. So that was a cut about there, I think. Clip that away, and we're going to have a cut about there as well. Okay. Smooth that out. And for this one, we basically cut off everything in that middle section. Yeah, and then we basically just sanded all that down and got it ready. Just going to clean up these components, and then what I'll do is I'll glue those legs in place, and then hopefully we have an idea of how that's going to look. Clean this up a little bit. It's not looking very round at this end. And clean that bit up a bit as well. Just what you've done already will makes them look like a Clockwork Circus clown. Oh, it makes him look less like a Clockwork Circus clown. Yeah, I kind of, like I said, I wanted it to look more bird-like than anything. I think I like the idea of a Skatari that's has that kind of height and has this kind of weird extension on the legs, but I want it to look more like it was based on something, because a lot of the stuff, if you look at stuff like, for example, the Patraxi that was mentioned, it's designed to have that kind of Leonardo da Vinci style sketch turned into a reality kind of thing, isn't it? And a lot of that stuff is based on how the animal world works. So I wanted to kind of recreate that. A mechanical ostrich, exactly. A mechanical ostrich with a gun. Don't tell any. I hope there's no Australians in this with the don't want to give them flashbacks to the old Emu War, do we? So yeah, exact same as before. If you join the stream late, if you haven't been part of this stream since the beginning, first of all, why not? I clearly posted it, but yeah, no worries. Essentially, the idea of this stream was basically just to fix the mechanical problems of the Skatros, not the aesthetic problems. It doesn't have aesthetic problems. It is as close to perfect as a Mechanicum model can be aesthetically, but I just was not very happy with how the legs would work from like a functionality point of view. I think the idea was good, but I feel like maybe, I mean, I don't want to kind of cast, what's it, aspersions, is that the word? I don't know, maybe not, on the person who designed this, because I think it's actually a really good design. I think is it based on a John Blanche work as well? I think possibly is. But obviously everything has to fit on a sprue, and the more you kind of lengthen the legs or anything like that, the more you have to break down the legs into separate parts, or you need to have a different weapon option or something like that. So, and then obviously if you want to keep it a character, keep it on one sprue, which is quite difficult with a model of that size. So yeah, I think the person who designed it did a really good job, and I feel like maybe there was other reasons as to why there weren't more segmentation in the legs. So, same thing as last time. We need to... Right, so I'm going to do the drilling. I'm going to do the gluing now, just so I can get an idea of how everything's going to be. I'm just going to make sure those mold lines are removed. And then we're going to glue this together, because pretty much from the waist up, this model is completely unchanged. It's going to have nothing... Once these legs are done, that's it. The legs and the claws and the feet on the feet, they're going to be the only changes. Everything else will pretty much be stock. So we want the feet to be, so if we look at the legs, you can see that this leg is ever so slightly further behind, so it's almost like we kind of need to recreate that. So the only thing I can do is if I have the leg slightly at a low, so not quite a steep an angle, I need to make sure the height's right, but I can adjust that if I need it to be. Yeah, let's follow a similar height. I think that'll be okay. Maybe we'll have it slightly steeper angle. I think I want to make the legs look a little different, and then I suppose I can always increase it by popping on a rock or something like that. So if we have it slightly further back and then slightly at a taller angle, I think that'll work. So I need to make a mark about where this is going to go. So let's bring this back in. I'm going to angle it ever so slightly like that. So it needs to make sure that that does go back. Yeah, probably need to have it. Yeah, I think that'll, not on camera. Yeah, cool. Done. I hope it'll still fit on the base, or you're making your own feet. Yeah, it's not going to fit on the base. The way the feet have gone aren't going to fit, so I'm going to have to make my own feet. Luckily, I already have an idea of how I'm going to do that. I'm basically going to give the claws. I'm going to give them the claws from this guy. I'm going to reattach this, and then there's also another claw that attaches underneath that there. So we're going to have more of so I'm not quite sure how I'm going to do that yet. I might have to... My idea initially was to cut this off at the wrist there and have this as almost as a foot. So it will still be quite small, but it won't be as small as it was. I was tempted to maybe have some sort of kind of like a dew claw kind of thing, like how dogs have that kind of claw that sits a little bit further up, maybe. I don't know. All right, let's mark that out. hopefully that's still visible. Yes, it is. Okay, gives me at least a rough idea as where I need to drill in. I need to probably file this flat actually before I do anything, because I didn't do that on the other model, and it's going to be harder to clean as a result. That's better. Right, okay. I've slipped over the line a little bit there. That's kind of causing problems. Yeah, it didn't go far enough in. This is exactly what I meant about not making those marks ahead of time. Basically, because the pin vise is a little blunt, it's essentially slipped up. Let's make another hole there. Okay, perfect. Hopefully that'll do. I'll clean that up in a second, but yeah, I've messed it up. So yeah, I've really kind of, you can see what I've done. Basically, I should have put the pin vise a little bit lower down, and what it's done is it's kind of got there and it's not taken into the hole, and it's just slipped up as it's got to the ridge. So I'm going to have to redo that one. So under normal circumstances, you should be able to do this with just using components from a single piece, but if you mess up like me, then you will have to make sure you have spares on hand. We can try that one again. Give these more lines a quick clean just to make the job easier later on if I need it. Clip away the sprue tabs as well. Okay, right. Okay, let's try that again. Let's get this lined up and figure out the angle. So this needed to be ever so slightly off center, and I'm going to remark that out again because I don't want to get this wrong again. Okay, so this time I'm going to follow my own advice and make sure that I put in a guide marker. There's probably another way of doing this, like if you get like it's probably like a sharp pin or something you can use instead, but I find that this is, I think because it's got a slight angle, that as I start to kind of twist it in there, it almost creates a wider divot that I can use as a starting point. Almost like a pilot hole, I guess. There we go, that's better. You can see how quickly that kind of took into the hole then. Much better. Try and make sure I go all the way through there. And then we'll clean that up, and then we'll start the same process on the leg again. Right, okay, we got there. There. Pete is playing God, fixing something already perfect. It is not perfect if mechanically the leg doesn't work. The leg, there is no way that leg could have worked as it stands there. It could not have worked. This leg could work. It wouldn't be practical by any stretch of the imagination, but it could work. It bends. This would bend. This piston would go in and out as it bent around, probably. I don't know. But it would bend better than the other one does. And this would bend as well. I've lost the... Oh, it's there. Okay, it's where I left it. Okay, let's do the same thing as I did last time. Not make up the mistake. It's the same make the same mistake again. Start off with a pilot hole, spinny, spinny, spinny. Then right, perfect. Plenty deep enough. Will the legs be even longer in the end? Yes, so they are. So I haven't got the original leg to compare it to anymore, but they are probably about, at least, I mean, they are actually bent as well. So if they stretched up, they would actually be even longer. But I would say if you imagine that the original join was like that, so that's the original piece that I removed from the leg, and so you can see that piece compared to, and that piece was attached like that. Yeah, that piece was attached like that, and the rest of the leg was just straight up attached to that. So I've probably added an extra, probably in real world terms, I've made the even taller by about a foot, I think. Jesus Christ, this wire. Look at this. This is the wire that I use as well. It's like, it just ever so slightly, every now and again, it just tries to escape from my drawer and just kind of starts spreading out. We Pet Minis, thank you very much for joining and coming along and seeing me improving on perfection, as everyone has said. But what is the channel? What is my channel if not improving on the hard work of other people? Or at least trying to. Usually turning everything into Chaos Marines. Or Demon Primox, something like that. With one simple trick, you can also be taller. Yeah. Right, is it 9 o'clock yet? It's nearly 9 o'clock, so it's nearly time for my another shout out to the old Dead Animal Bits Kickstarter. I will be doing another one. This is a great thing about when you sponsor yourself for a stream. If you watch like other people's sponsored streams, they have to like have a like image in the corner, and I can just do whatever I want. If I want to do the whole thing, the whole stream could be about the Dead Animal Bits Kickstarter, and I wouldn't feel bad because it's my Kickstarter and I want to talk about it. But no, I thought, what's the point in doing a stream if I can't replace the old Call of Cthulhu? The Call of Cthulhu man is still in my he is still on the computer. Don't worry, he will be back once the Kickstarter is finished. He will be back. So fans of Call of Cthulhu man, he is still there, and he will be back. Did I drill the hole long enough? That's the main thing. I don't think I did. Okay. I need to clip that down a little bit more. It's really deceptive. It doesn't feel like you've got much left out, but then when you actually bring in the component... I don't know where that went. It felt like it made a hole in the ceiling. Wow. That was... See what I mean? I'm quite scared when I get those clippers out. It's almost like Friday night dinner with Wilson. Okay. Yeah, perfect. So I've got a similar kind of angle, but it's different enough just to make it look as though it's doesn't look as uniform. Looks more like a natural pose, I think, as a result of changing the angle slightly. Okay, so let's trim that down as well. I'm tempted. What's the next piece of torso piece to be added? I'm tempted to add the whole torso just so it locks the legs in position a little bit more. I'm not far off finishing this, so I want to try and get this done before the end of the stream. At least, if nothing else, just with the actual torso, I think. So I'm just going to clean this up quickly and then just glue this, and then that'll hopefully lock things into place and also give a little bit of a better idea of how the torso looks in terms of in comparison. I don't know if I'll get the feet on, possibly. I'll definitely try, but whether or not we'll get there is another matter. Faceless Cleric, I missed the first 2 hours of the stream, but I'm glad I was able to catch part of it live. I'm glad you've managed to come along to the end. If you, as always, if you're on Twitch and you're watching this on Twitch and you would like to come back and watch it again later on, they automatically get uploaded as a VOD after the stream onto YouTube. So yeah, you can just check out that right there. On the little live chat, little live tab that pops up on there, you can just find all of my past streams on there. Right, okay, let's join those together. So they basically just glue, I think they're supposed to glue, yeah. You almost sandwich the legs in between them. And that's what I wanted. I wanted to create a extra point just to, I don't want the legs from breaking apart as I was trying to adjust things, so it's easy to get the legs fixed together now and then worry about clipping things later on. Right, hopefully that is enough glue. Yeah, that's not getting in the way too much either. Perfect. Yeah, so you can kind of see how everything kind of starts to come together. Now we have the actual torso. It's not just a disembodied pair of legs. Yeah, I've tried to emulate. I know I've already mentioned this a few times, but if you are new to the stream, hopefully you'll have a better understanding of what I've tried to do. So that if you imagine as recreating of a human, so this is obviously where your normal thigh would be, your knee joints, then your shin, and then basically this whole thing is essentially just a really long foot. So if I put like a little claw on the end, those will be the toes. So I've kind of kept the anatomically correct not proportions, but the segmentations. And if you imagine it as like a bird or a dog or something like that, then you can kind of imagine those sections just look like elongated. But yeah, I'm quite happy with it so far. Just need to get that second leg on there, and then that will be ideal. Okay. So now the torso's in place, I'm going to start trimming down this leg here because we need to make sure that we match the other side, and the other side didn't have it, so this side can't have it either. Let's clip that down nice and flat. If you had stilt arms instead of legs to be more hidden and be able to shoot over high cover, he'd have to have stilt legs, a neck as well, wouldn't he? So he can make sure he sees what he's doing. But the Adeptus Mechanicus is far from the most practical of approaches to things. It's like they have literal like repulsors and stuff like that, but it's like, oh, how are we going to make our winged infantry fly? Well, let's give them some canvas. And make them flap around. Okay, well we've got like that's fine. I can understand how we want to do that for the infantry, but what about when we've got this like big flying transport with like guns and stuff on it? What do you want to do with that one? Same, yeah. Just put canvas on it. That'll do. Yeah, that'll do. Put canvas on it. It's cheap to replace. It's probably not even canvas, is it? It's probably, knowing the Imperium, it's probably human skin or something weird like that. Professor Grimm, can I ask you a question about possible conversion projects in the future? Yeah, sure thing, go ahead. Right, and one thing I do need to make sure is that it fits on the original base, which is only a 40mm base, I think it was. Yeah, so I need to make sure I don't put the legs too far apart, because otherwise it literally won't be able to fit onto the base. Okay, so yeah, if I kind of can, yeah, I can adjust this anyway. Once I do the drilling, I can make sure that there's enough of an angle there to get these legs roughly fitting onto a base. Mechanicus flyers don't flap. That's only in memes. They have jets. The wings are only there to maneuver. Well, if the wings are only there to maneuver, what's wrong with fixed wings with control surfaces? They're flapping them wings. That's what they're doing. They're moving those around. They're flapping them around. But even so, I think relying on your purely relying on your ability to maneuver on canvas is. I don't know. It's kind of hilarious. It's perfect for AdMech. I have no problem with them having some canvas wings. That's not a problem. I just think it's just funny. It just makes me laugh. I don't know. But that's what 40k should be. If 40k ever makes sense, then it's no longer 40k, in my opinion. Maybe a servo skull aim assist or a tall neck Skitarii would be kind of hilarious. The only thing is about having like really long arms so you can shoot over stuff is I kind of just imagine this like really, I don't know. It's kind of like, what am I thinking of? I know what I'm thinking of. Let me have it. The only thing, let me find it first. Okay. Let me. Right. So, no. If you've ever seen RoboCop, you'll be familiar with this particular scene at the end. And I just imagine that if you had this guy who had long arms instead, that's kind of what you would end up with. I don't know. Just really long arms, just like walking around with a gun, just holding it above his head. That'd be great. Anyway, back to the matter at hand. I want to get this finished, ideally. Oh, I missed the segment. Okay, as I was saying, this stream has been sponsored by myself and the Dead Animal Bits Kickstarter. It is currently on Kickstarter right now, so if you're interested in getting a hold of things like horns, rib cages, antlers, severed hands, severed heads, there's also some other things that I've been working with as well. You can see in the post here, there are some of these long sticks which have hands on them, and these like long spikes that you could paint as bone or wood or something like that. Those would be good for like little basing dioramas or putting on vehicles, things like that. So yeah, that's what we're hoping for. It's got another 14 days left. There is basically this is all going to be hard plastic, and if you back it, you'll be among the first people to get a hold of the kits as well. They will be available at retail in the future, but for the time being, this is it. So I'm gonna pop the Kickstarter links into the thing. So if you want to check it out, feel free to. All the information's there, and yeah. Oh, Jesus Christ, I didn't click on Firefox. What's going on? Okay, no, it's there. Okay, it's there. Cool. Anyway. Okay. Anyway. Right, where were we now? So, I've drilled the hole. I was drilling the hole into this leg section as well. That's what I was doing. Make sure that's nice and goes all the way in. Perfect. And I'm just going to dry fit this. I'll glue one piece of the metal pole in first, and then I'll adjust it. A little bit too much glue there. Okay. Let's clip down the length a bit so we can get the rest of the leg attached. Oh, Jesus. And then, it's too long. I'm just going to try and press that in a little bit actually. I need a clamp of some sort. I've not got anything. Trim that a little bit more because it's still a bit too long. It was so much easier to cut this to length beforehand, but you know, hindsight. Okay, hopefully that is enough. Do a dry fit for the time being. Make sure everything's lining up properly. Yeah, there we go. That's just about enough. Might need to drill a little bit more into the section there, but yeah, there we go. So, yeah, so it's a little bit bigger. He kind of hangs off the base a little bit more than he did before, but I think for the most part, he is. Yeah, I think it works. Because the ideal pose is that his torso is upright. That's what we want. So if we have one leg slightly farther... Jeez, I can't talk. If we have one leg slightly further forward and then one back, the feet will add a little bit extra height as well, but not too much. But yeah, that's basically what we've got now. And I actually remembered the box has him at accurate scale. So if we place him next to him, there we go. I think we've got... I'd say we've got maybe, try and get the angle right, we've probably got, yeah, probably going to be about a foot taller out of this, and there we go. And a few people, they thought I would come in and I would give him little short legs and he'd just be a normal Skatari with a sniper rifle, but no, that's not me. If I was going to do this, I was going to do this properly. I was going to make him, if anything, the legs were going to go longer. Go big or go home, right? Perfect. Alright, so that's the first part of the piston. I'm just going to flatten that out a little bit. Can I fix it? Proceeds to add even more height. This is the thing. The height wasn't what needed to be fixed. The height was not a problem. I had no issues with the height. If anything, the height could have gone further, which is exactly what we've done here. The problem, as I've mentioned a lot in this stream, admittedly, but it's kind of a little bit of a bugbear, was that the legs wouldn't work. I am all for a little Skatari man standing on his long legs, striding around to get a little bit of an advantage when he's using a sniper rifle. But if he's going to do it, he needs to get there. He can't just waddle around. Okay, find that a little bit out as well. This is just normal height, Primaris Admech. This is scale creep. Scale creep's real, guys. And I'm perpetrating it. Okay, so that should fit into there a little bit better now. It does. Perfect. Oh, I should also mention, I put a post up on the community tab yesterday, Friday, at some point. I can't remember if it was yesterday or the day before. Anyway, I am basically bringing back a video segment that I used to have, which is basically, so when I used to do commissions, I used to have a few of those commissions. I used to make videos of them and share them on the channel, things like that. I don't have time to do commissions anymore, I'm afraid, but what I thought I would do is, as a benefit to anyone who is a YouTube channel member or a Patreon member, I'm actually having a Marine of the Month, I'm calling it. Basically, if you're a channel member or a patron, you will submit me your idea for a model. I will build that model, make a video on it, paint it, and then I'll ship it to you. And I'm going to be picking one person each month, and the Marine of the Month is currently running. So if you are interested in that, if you're a patron supporter, or if you are a channel member, if you go over to the YouTube community tab, there is some links for you to follow to do your submissions. But yeah, it's just, I thought it's just a fun way to get some different ideas that aren't just kind of like mine, because sometimes it's good. There's a lot of really good ideas out there as well, and I think it's good to just try something else that maybe I wouldn't have done before. So I'm just going to be picking one of the submissions I'm doing. It's pretty much going to be mainly Space Marines and Chaos Space Marines, so I will maybe expand it out to other factions in the future, but for the time being I'm just going to keep it as Marines. But I just want to do a little bit more for the people who are YouTube channel members and patrons and stuff like that, because yeah, like a lot of people obviously help to support the channel and keep things like this going and pay for the components and materials that I need, and obviously I do this is my job now, so having that support just means that I can continue making these videos and doing these live streams and stupid things like making an already ridiculously tall model even taller. But it is people like patrons, supporters, YouTube channel members and things like that that really help with the costs of running a channel like this. So yeah, I just wanted to do something a little bit more for them. So yeah, like I said, if you're interested in that, there's a community tab on YouTube which has all of the information. I'm just trying to make sure I get this right. Actually, it's kind of a slight angle, so I might have to just make do with that. Actually, I might file it down a little bit. Right, hopefully this all goes to plan. And I have 2 completed legs. And 40 minutes to do the feet, which isn't a lot of time for me because I haven't even fully planned out how I'm going to do the feet. So, could be fun, could be interesting. Let's move that back a little bit. Nearly there. Okay, there. I think we're okay. It's not pretty. I can probably adjust that with a bit of sprue goo or something later on, but I think as it stands, I think that works. Okay. So there we go. Extra long legs, man. Which is too big for the base now. He's going to have like a little bit of a tactical rock standing off the edge of that, I think, isn't he? That's what he's going to have to do. So yeah, you can see why I can no longer use the original legs on the thing, because it's a lot wider now. But yeah, there we go. So yeah, it's kind of the reason why I've built him as well. If you look at him, it's kind of leaning almost back on the legs, but because he's got like the weaponry at the front, I feel like it would help to balance the model this way, if that makes sense. Right, feet. Let's quickly try and do something with the feet, I reckon. What have we got? We've got claws. I think that'll work. I might have to quickly grab something to act as like a tactical rock extender or something like that. Maybe a bit of cork, that'll do. Yeah, so I think if we clip this away, I think the best way to attach this now. That weighs out the question because it's just too pointy. It's going to need to be some sort of... If I clip that away there, and then cut away this little tab, and then insert the foot into there with a pin, and then, yeah, that'll work. That should work. That will hopefully work. How are the Beagles doing? The Beagles are doing very well, thank you very much. They are... yeah, they're good. Juno, is doing pretty well with her own only one kidney. She's okay, to be honest. She's not really. She's on medication for blood pressure or something, so that's just her blood pressure is a little bit high, but it's nothing too concerning really. But yeah, she's pretty good. Yeah, nothing problematic really at all. Thank you for asking. Okay, so I've got to figure out a way to get this to fit into there. And I'm guessing if I can get the angle right, I can actually drill a hole and make that wide enough for that to fit in. Maybe we could use one of the feet of some Brockia Thunderkin. That's a good idea. Yeah, I do have some, but they're all inaccessible at the moment. They're currently in the garage, so with getting this done for the end of the video, I think I'm just going to have to go with this. Also, it keeps it in the theme of everything being from Mechanicus kits, which is... I don't know, I always find it quite neat when I can do kits which is... Jesus. Which is everything's from the same range. I don't know, I find it... It's more achievable, I think. If you ask someone who's already collecting Space Marines to use Space Marine parts, it's a lot more... It's less of an ask to ask someone who's collecting Space Marines to use all these parts from tons of different... I'm going to have to use the extended version of that. be too wide, we'll see. Yeah, it's possibly a little bit too wide. I might drop down a size actually before I continue. No, maybe not actually. On hindsight, it might be okay. Right. Let's give it a quick test just to see how we're looking. Ah, okay, yeah. If I keep going with that, that'll actually work really well. Just got to make sure I don't go too far in. Oh, I'm bending that by accident. Oops. So you can see it kind of creates more of like a foot. So if I get the other claw and have it hanging off the edge of the end there, it kind of helps to create the effect. So what I might do is I'm trying to think the best way to do this, to approach this, is I'm definitely going to need to have some tactical rock on there. So let's do that first. How wide do we need to go? Not too wide. If I overlap a little bit there and then... Yeah, that should be enough. Let's just feather those edges a little bit. Can always come back to those. I'm just going to super glue this down. And where's that claw? I'll grab the claw before I forget. There it is. I feel like I'm rushing now, but I'm getting close to the end. I really want to get this, I at least want to get the feet done. But I don't want to mess it up by rushing, that's the only thing. So yeah, my idea was to have the feet like that, and then have these kind of claws coming out the back, just to kind of provide a bit more of an anchor point. But that surprisingly worked well. I'm surprised at how nicely that's fitted into there. I'm tempted to just glue this in as is, because it's going to have to be in line with the rest of the leg to make sense. So I'm going to hold that in place and then hope for the best, I think. Okay, and where's that small claw there? If we test this out against the rock. Don't ask me how this guy's going to stand up. That's the that's the next challenge, and it's not for this particular stream. I think I'm definitely going to need to use some liberal use of pinning or something. But this guy's going to be very flimsy as it is. Definitely more of a display model than a gaming one, I think. I'm actually tempted to put a little rock under there, and then it kind of looks like he's almost gripping onto the rock. Like that. glue there. It's very, very runny, thin glue that is, so it just absorbs into everything. Right, let's pop a little bit there. Right, keep that to one side. Ooh. I feel like I've gone further with that than I expected, to be honest. I expected that by this point in the stream to still be working on the legs, so I'm quite pleased with that. But yeah, I would like to get the feet done, ideally. Pete, where'd you get your cork from? So I bought a massive pack of cork floor tiles about 7 years ago or something like that, and I just haven't used them all. I've still got like probably half the pack. You just use that little of it. But yeah, it's basically just 1mm thick, non-self-adhesive. I can't remember where I got it from. I can probably have a look back in my emails and dig through, but I unfortunately can't really find it off the top. Remember what it is on the top of my head. Chris, hello, welcome to the stream. It's going well, thank you very much. How are you? I either got it off eBay or Amazon. I think it probably would have been eBay at the time when I bought it. So definitely need to pick that foot up a little bit like that. So yeah, I think I need to trim this foot down a little bit, but I think we can definitely get some degree of... Yeah, we can do that. Let's do the second foot, and we'll come back to the back claws of that one. So that one, I've already taken the claw off. There's the other one. Let's clip that away, and that's the second foot. Now I've got to figure out how to do that foot thing again. So this one is pretty much the same, actually. Let's go for... Oh, I've got another pin vise here. Actually, let's use this one. I don't like this one as much. It's a little bit too chunky. It's not as fine as the... But yeah, I think apart from the fact that this guy's legs don't work, I actually really like the new model. I think it fits the aesthetic well. The only thing I'm a little bit salty about is the fact that AdMech didn't get like 3 new characters like the Necrons did. It was like, at first we were just told that, oh yeah, this is a new character for Necrons, new character for AdMech. They're getting the codexes released around the same time. Perfect. Oh yeah, that's cool. It's like, oh yeah, but the Necrons are getting these 2 guys as well. Oh, okay. Okay. But yeah, because I think the Necron range is like really quite fleshed out now, because obviously they had a whole new range of stuff when they were the release faction for 9th edition. Yeah, that was right. And then they've received a few other little bits and bobs here and there since then. Obviously they've got a few new character models, and then they've just got 3 new character models, like actual just re-releases of models. So it's not even... So the Diviner, Imhotep, and... Was it Imhotep? And there's one other character. I can't remember the name of that other character. They've had 1 new character, haven't they? 2 redesigns and a new character, if I remember rightly. Yeah, I really don't like this. This is not... It's too chunky, that is. I think it's good for doing the bigger models, but for doing little fiddly things like this, that it's far too big. Yeah, I think, I don't know. Admech is still one of those factions which are still quite new, so they still don't have all that much. They have a decent range. I mean, originally, when it was Scutari and Cult Mechanicus, and they were two separate armies for some strange reason. It's like, oh yeah, we've got this really small army range. We're going to make it even smaller by splitting it down into two factions. What army does Pete play for 40k? So yeah, the only army that I have fully built is basically a Horus Heresy army, which is essentially just a firstborn Space Marine army for 40k. And that's what I took to the tournament a few weeks ago. And I lost 2 games and drew 1. So yeah, that's how good at 40k I am. Not very. Okay, so slightly different angle that particular foot has, so I just need to be careful of that, because the little weird tab. Yeah. Oh, that should be okay, actually, thinking about it. Let's drill a little bit more in and widen that gap a bit. But yeah, I'm currently also in the process of building a Primaris army as well for my Raptors. That's what I'm in the process of. I'm currently working on the next squad for that. Yeah, let's get that glued into place. Don't worry, you're in good cover. I only win 1 out of every 3 games when I play Eldar. Yeah, one of the games that I lost was actually against Eldar. First game as well, because it was... So I've kept up to date with the rules of 40k, and I've kind of followed things around and had a rough understanding of how the rules work and stuff. I had to have a little bit of an understanding in some regards, just so I could almost engage in parts of the hobby in terms of conversions and things like that. But yeah, I just never played it. I've played Age of Sigmar quite a few times since then. But I last played 40k in 6th edition, and I'd not played in any of the new editions since then. So yeah, it was quite interesting, really, to go from having played no games to basically... It was a friendly tournament, though, so it wasn't like the worst environment to play in. But yeah, the person I first came against was against Eldar, who are apparently, I learnt afterwards, are very good at the moment in the current meta of the 40k, apparently. So yeah, that was good. It was a good trial by fire. Yeah, that's looking okay. I'm very tempted, actually, just to super glue that into place now. And then add the claws around it. Yeah, I think I'm going to do that. Oh, I've actually super glued the foot already. Excellent. I completely unintentionally. Let's super glue the feet into place, and then I can add those back claws, and they'll give me a little bit of a better idea as to where to go. So I'm going to be very careful with this super glue. I don't want it over spreading too far. A pin would be a good idea here, but I might actually almost do like a reverse pin. So what I'll do is I'll essentially not do the pin until I've got the model in place. I'll basically drill through the underside of the base and into the foot, and that could end in disaster, or it could be a great idea. But I think... So I've made him even taller by adding the cork. But yeah, I literally can't... let's get a Space Marine for comparison. Do I have a regular Space Marine? No, I have Primaris Gravis. There we go. Don't worry, the back toe is coming. I just wanted to make sure that I had the feet in place before I glued the back toe into place. So you can see it there. I have a little one ready. But I wanted to make sure I got the angle of these right before I worried about the toe. might trim that down a little bit, flatten it out, and then that should fit nicely against the back there. Timing on, look at that. I managed to get glued to a base and everything. I didn't even think I'd manage this. This has been a very productive stream. It's a bit of a rough attachment, but I'm not worried too much because the feet are a little bit further down. It would be good to have something in there, though, just to fill out the foot. I could possibly cut down the length of that. Yeah, let's worry about that in a second. Let's do the back feet first, and then we can concentrate on... Look how flimsy this guy is, though. Luckily, I've got pins in there, otherwise that would have just... A mild breeze would have caused that to blow over. I'm going to cut that down just to make that slightly longer. I think that'll work. Just cut down the trim a little bit more. Try and make sure he's standing a little bit too far back at the moment. I might need to modify that a little bit, but no, it's not too bad. It's fine. All right, so let's get this in place. Just check the fit again. Still needs a little bit more coming off that bottom of the toe. That's getting there. I'm just going to trim some of the rock away. You always know it's a good build when an integral part of the model is, in fact, the cork floor tile. You always know you're kind of building by the skin of your teeth there, if that's the case. If you need to rely on essentially bark from a tree to that needs a tiny little bit more removing. And that should fit in there nicely. It's kind of gripping onto the rock there. I'm just going to use super glue on this piece because it's mainly going to be attached to the cork. So there's no point relying too much on plastic glue at this stage because it's not going to be as attached to the model as it is. There we go. Perfect. Just need one on this side, and then we are pretty much done with the conversion. The rest of it will pretty much just be following the instructions. There won't be any modifications needed, really. Above the waist, the model is just fine. It won't need any adjustments whatsoever. This really needs to be clipped back quite a bit, actually. Let's really trim that back now. Get ahead of it. A little short for a stormtrooper still. So I'm thinking with this one, same kind of principle, but what I need to do probably here is just to see if I can angle that forward a little bit. I can. So I've got a little bit of movement in there. So what I'm going to use this for is to essentially pin this forward a little bit, because you can see how it's kind of sagging a bit. So if I ram this in a bit and act essentially as a wedge and then super glue it to the base, it will almost allow the model to sit back on that back foot a little bit, because at the moment it's leaning quite the way back because it's essentially hooked on one side, so I need to prop it up a little bit, because that problem will only get worse once I add more weight to the top of the model. But if it still doesn't work, I can just tweak. Oh, oh no, please tell me that thing is going to get lost. There, it's okay, found it. Really need to push that forward and get that in. Like that, perfect. Okay, so if I pop a little bit of super glue into there, and then we should be laughing. So I need to press that forward without gluing my fingers to the model. Pull it forward, press that in there, and then there we go. A lot more stable now, actually, surprisingly so. Stick a little bit more glue into that gap down at the bottom just to make sure that everything is sitting together nicely. Yeah, there we go. I'm quite happy with that, to be honest. I wasn't really... I knew roughly what I wanted to do, but I wasn't really expecting how things would go. I wasn't sure if I'd have to readjust things, shorten the legs a little bit to get them to work, the ideas to work. But yeah, it's not bad, actually. It's fairly stable. Considering that's... I mean, I'm glad I put the extra struts in there just to kind of take that. But there's a pin there. There's a pin there. And obviously these are glued as they would be in the kit. This is essentially pinned because I've drilled the plastic into these, and these are like essentially wedged in and super glued. So yeah, there's not really much. It seemed it's flexible, but I think you'd really need to like apply a lot of pressure to make it fully break. These ankles as well are probably still not fully dried, so as the glue down here cures a little bit, that will also firm these joints up. So I think it actually, I'm quite pleased with that. Now, am I going to paint it? So I'm actually... now this is the dilemma now, because I really enjoyed building that, actually. Considering I managed to do it in, just less than 3 hours, and the rest of the model was pretty much plain sailing from that. I could just be like, there you go, just follow the rest of the instruction book at this point. There's no difference how I would build that. I would really like to make a video on that one. And actually, but the thing is, the way I stream these is I don't record the stuff. I probably should do, actually. And it would be really good to have a full cut down video of this without my face obscuring the corner of the screen. So what I might do is I might actually redo this when this kit gets released. It gets released next week. I will possibly pick another one up and give it a go as a full video. In which case I will paint it. I might not do a tutorial, but I don't think it's too hard to follow either. I mean, there's a lot of trial and error that I did there, but the only parts that I needed were the claws from the Cataphren breeches, I think, or there's two different ones. I always forget the name of them. And then these from the Honor Jejune claws. It's not really a big involved kit bash. It's just more fiddly to get everything lined up. But once these are great. These have worked really well because they allowed me to get the same distance on either side. And because they were pinned in two places, it allows me to adjust the things as I needed them. So the model might lean forward a little bit. I want to make sure that stands. I don't think it's really hard to see from the original model how much it leans forward. But I think it's pretty stand up. Yeah, it stands up pretty straight, to be honest. Oh, let's go on the 360 view on the website. I think I should be on there by now. Is it? Okay, yeah. So there isn't a 360 view, but yeah, he does stand quite vertical in the shoulder. So I need to make sure that that does as well. But yeah, cool. Well, that was good. I enjoyed that. That's the first stream I've done for a few weeks. So I'm actually quite glad I decided to do something a bit different rather than just relying on the old Raptor stream. So I've been really pleased with how it turned out. So thank you everyone who tuned in and joined me for this. I will keep that in mind, actually. If I ever kind of stuck for an idea of a video to do, I will basically come back to that one. And this stream will be available as a VOD. So if you're watching on Twitch at the moment, then you can go on to YouTube and see this as a VOD under the live tab. Obviously, if you're on YouTube, you can do the same. But yeah, this will be available to view afterwards. So if you want to go back and see how I did things, if you missed at the beginning of the stream, then don't worry. But yeah, thank you very much to everyone who has joined the stream and has left them comments, has helped me get through this 3 hours. So thank you very much to everyone. As always, there is the ever grateful thank you to everyone who has super chatted and everyone who's subscribed on Twitch as well. So thank you very much to everyone who has helped to support the stream and the channel in turn. Quick mention for the Marine of the Month competition. So if you're interested in that, check out the YouTube community tab. All the information's there. It is just for Patreon members and YouTube channel members though. So make sure that I've had a few people who've just left me comments about like, oh, these are some ideas. So there's a form, but you need to be a patron. Anyway, it's self-explanatory. Go check it out. But also the Kickstarter as well. Final shout out for the Kickstarter on the stream. I'll be mentioning it again next stream. Don't worry. But yeah, if you're interested in hard plastic conversion parts that scale to be used and has been kind of designed for use with Warhammer, and these are all the parts that are there. Let's grab that. Get a good picture of them. Lots of horns, antlers, bones, skulls, rib cages, some nice big Caradon jaws as well. Feathers, yeah. And they're all going to be multiples on that kit as well. Lots of variation on there and also lots of the different component. Lots of the same component repeated so that you can have all the components that you need in sufficient supply. So yeah, anyway, let's pop one final link into the chat for that. So if you enjoy it, then please do if you have already supported as well, thank you very much. But if you haven't, or you can just share it, that'd be amazing. If you just share it with your friends, that'd be great, just to try and get the word out there a little bit. So yeah, thank you very much. One final question. I did see one more question there. Hey Pete, what rank do the patron need to be for that Marine of the Month? There is no rank requirement. Anyone can, as long as you are a Kickstarter's got a weird thing where you can be a free member, but I don't see that there's not really any point to that. But yeah, so any of the paid tiers, which is like, I can't remember what the lowest tier is, but yeah, any of the paid tiers will give you eligibility for it. So yeah, same with YouTube as well. So yeah, cool. Thank you very much to everyone who has joined. Is there anyone actually on? This is for Twitch only. There's a few people who are online at the moment, so we might do a quick little raid on someone else at the end of the stream. So yeah, thank you very much to everyone who has joined, everyone on Twitch, everyone on YouTube. Thank you for watching, and I will see you again next week, hopefully with a stream and another video as well. But yeah, we'll have one final quick look at the old super tall boy now. I can't even fit him on the screen completely. There we go. Thanks everyone. I'll see you all next time. I'll find the closing page. There you go. Thanks. Bye guys. Bye.